All right, to make our Yayoi Kusama inspired clay pumpkin today that we'll be adding color to when it's fired in the kiln, we're gonna be using scrap clay. This is clay that we can reuse, and all we have to do is just get it into a ball. So if it's a little bit moist, you can kind of roll it out on your mat a little bit. And we are going to try to create a nice, smooth pumpkin shape, so kind of a sphere, although maybe your pumpkin is a little bit of an oval. I'm gonna roll it into my hands here, and I'm gonna use my finger as well to kind of smooth out any bumps. If you need a little bit of water, you can, but for most of you, your clay is gonna be pretty moist and you will not wanna add any water to it, or it's gonna get really muddy. We don't want it to be too muddy. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of hollow out our pumpkin. We don't want it to be solid. Otherwise it's gonna take a really long time to dry out before we put it in the kiln. So we're gonna just be poking a hole down in the middle. So I'm gonna hold it in one hand, and I'm gonna use this tool, and I'm just gonna kind of do a little twist and kind of push down without going all the way through. Okay, and I can kind of go like this to make it a little bit bigger. That's gonna help my pumpkin dry out a little bit faster. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna I want my, actually, yeah, if you want your pumpkin to kind of go in a little bit, so like, it's not usually very round on top, it kind of goes in a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of, just kind of smooth a little divot in the top. Doesn't have to be much. All right, now we're ready to make the curves on the pumpkin. So you can see these curves that go down and around, and we're gonna be using our skewer to do that. So I'm gonna just start right up here at the top, and I'm gonna push and roll my skewer down to the very bottom like so. And then I've created a nice kind of curve. And I like to just do it on the other side as well. So I'm gonna flip it around, push that in. Okay, so I've got two curves. Now I'm gonna do the same in the other direction. Ooh, I pushed a little too hard there. That way. And that way. And then I'm gonna go in between. So I kind of like to think of it as like cutting up a pie. I'm not actually cutting, I'm just rolling there. And then go across to the other way. And this way. And this way. Okay, it's really starting to look like a pumpkin now. And now I'm ready to add the stem. So all I need is just a tiny little chunk of clay, and I can shape this into any kind of stem that I want. And then I'm gonna use my stick to kind of scratch up where it's gonna go. Maybe add a little water right there, and then I'm gonna twist on the stem. Make sure it stays twisted on. Okay, now I'm ready to decorate my pumpkin with Kusama dots. To make my Kusama dots, I can use the end of a marker lid, I can use the end of my skewer, and I can use the other end of my skewer because that makes an even smaller dot. So I'm gonna make some interesting rows because I noticed that Kusama, her repetition is usually like in rows of dots. So I could just do one row, maybe I do multiple rows of dots. Maybe I create a pattern of some kind. I could create a pattern of large and small on this pumpkin. I did a pattern of big on one section, small on another. Big on one section, small on another. So you could do something like that. I think I'm gonna do some variety, so I'm gonna do some bigger ones here. And I like the idea of kind of doing a smaller one in the middle. So it's totally up to you, but we're gonna add those around the whole pumpkin. When we're totally done, we're gonna flip it over without smashing our stem, and we're gonna write our name. I'm gonna find a pencil to write my name because this is not very sharp. So I'm gonna write my name, and I want you to also write your teacher code. And then you're ready to turn it in.